Have you ever felt completely invisible to someone you love? Not because they were cruel, not because they shouted, but because they simply disappeared, emotionally. Like a door closed from the inside, and you weren't even told the lock existed. You tried harder, you gave space, you analyzed every text, you replayed conversations at 2 a.m. looking for clues. And still, nothing. No reassurance, no warmth. Just silence, or distance, or a casual "I'm fine" that felt like a wall. Here is what no one tells you. That silence you fear, that distance you cry over, for some people, that is the closest they will ever get to saying, "I love you." You heard that right. Most of us were raised to believe love looks loud. Love looks like constant reassurance. Love looks like morning texts and late-night calls and emotional availability 24/7. But human psychology tells a different story. Not every brain processes attachment the same way. Not every heart knows how to say, "I need you," without feeling like it's drowning. Some people are wired to pull away when they care the most. They are called avoidants, and if you have ever loved one, you know the pain. You also know the confusion, because sometimes, in the middle of all that cold distance, they do something that makes no sense. They show up. They remember a small detail you mentioned once. They sit in silence next to you for hours. They don't leave even when they say they want to. You think they don't love you. But psychology says, look closer. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what avoidant attachment looks like when love has already taken root inside them. You will stop misreading their silence as rejection, and you will finally see the hidden signs that most people completely miss, signs that prove they are already in love with you, even if they will never say those 3 words out loud. Stick with me until the end, because in the final minutes, I will give you something most therapists don't tell you. The single most powerful way to respond when an avoidant shows you their secret love, without pushing them away, without losing yourself, and without waiting forever for a change that may never come your way. But first, we have to rewire how you see love entirely. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever loved someone so much that you felt scared? Not scared of losing them, scared of what would happen to you if you fully let them in. Scared that they would see your real self and walk away. Scared that your own heart, once opened, could never be closed again. That fear? That is exactly where avoidants live every single day. Most people think avoidants don't feel deeply. That is wrong. Research into attachment theory shows that avoidant individuals feel love just as intensely as anyone else, sometimes more. But their nervous system has learned a terrible lesson early in life. Showing feelings equals danger. Vulnerability equals rejection. Needing someone equals losing yourself. So they build a fortress, not to keep you out, to keep their own feelings from destroying them. And that fortress looks like coldness, like mixed signals, like disappearing for 3 days and then acting like nothing happened. Like saying, "I don't need anyone," while secretly checking your social media every hour. Here's the painful truth most people never realize. When an avoidant starts to love you, they do not move closer. They panic. Their brain activates the same stress response as physical danger. Their pulse races. Their throat tightens. And their first instinct is to run. Not because they don't care, but because they care too much. And they have no map for that territory. You see rejection, they see survival. Now, let me show you exactly what to look for. Because once you see these behaviors through the lens of psychology, you will never misread an avoidant again. First sign, they start showing up in small, quiet ways that cost them nothing materially, but cost them everything emotionally. For example, they remember your coffee order. They notice when you're tired before you say it. They fix something in your house without being asked. They send you a song at 2 a.m. with no explanation. They ask about a problem you mentioned 3 weeks ago. To a normal person, these are tiny gestures. To an avoidant, these are huge. Because every single one of those actions means they were paying attention when their brain was screaming at them to look away. They were thinking about you in private moments. They were storing your details like treasures, even while acting like they didn't care. Psychologists call this insecure attachment with pockets of security. But let me translate. That avoidant who seems cold, they have a secret map of your life hidden in their mind, and you are on every page. Second sign, they stop leaving completely. This is subtle, most people miss it. In the beginning, an avoidant will ghost you for days. No texts, no calls, no explanation. That is their normal operating system. But when love starts to grow, something changes. They still need space, they still pull away. But now, they come back faster. And when they come back, they don't pretend nothing happened. Instead, they look guilty, or quiet, or they say something vague like, "Sorry, rough week." That guilt? That is love trying to break through the concrete. Avoidants don't apologize for things they don't care about. If they feel bad for disappearing, it means your absence affected them. It means they missed you. And for an avoidant, missing someone is terrifying. So they will never say, "I missed you," but they will show up again, and again, and again. That consistent return, even after distance, is their version of "I choose you." Third sign, they get weirdly protective of you. Not in a romantic movie way, not with flowers and speeches, but in small, sharp moments. Someone says something rude about you. The avoidant goes quiet and cold. Someone hurts your feelings. The avoidant remembers that person's name for months. You face a problem. The avoidant suddenly has a solution, delivered without emotion, like it's no big deal. Here is the psychology. Avoidants struggle to express love directly. It feels too vulnerable. But anger, protection, fixing things, those emotions are safe for them. So when they love you, their protective instincts come online. They will defend you in silence. They will remove threats without telling you. They will fight for you, just not with words. If an avoidant has ever gone out of their way to protect you, even in a small way, they are already past the point of casual feelings. You are inside their fortress now. They just don't know how to hand you the key. Fourth sign, they start sharing real things about themselves. Not happy things, but broken things. Avoidants have a wall around their past. They don't talk about childhood wounds. They don't mention fears. They don't admit loneliness. But when love takes hold, that wall cracks. Not breaks, cracks. They might say one sentence about a difficult memory, then change the subject immediately. They might mention a fear, then laugh it off like a joke. They might tell you something vulnerable at 1 a.m., then act cold the next morning. That is not manipulation. That is terror. Every small confession costs them days of mental recovery, but they do it anyway, because some part of them wants you to know the real person behind the armor. And that wanting, that is love. Raw, scared, messy, real love. Most people see the cold morning after and think, "See, they don't care." But psychologists will tell you the opposite. The fact that they showed you a crack in the wall and then panicked, that panic proves the crack was real. Fake vulnerability is easy. Real vulnerability for an avoidant looks exactly like regret the next day. Fifth sign, they test you, constantly. And you have been failing the tests without knowing it. This is the hardest one to understand. Avoidants don't trust love. Their whole life has taught them that love leaves. Love hurts. Love is a trap. So when they start feeling love for you, their brain runs a silent checklist. Will you chase when I run? Will you stay when I push? Will you still be there when I come back from my cave? Every time they go cold, they are watching. Every time they say something distant, they are testing. Every time they create space, they are asking without words. Are you safe enough to love me without destroying me? And here is where most people fail. They get hurt. They get angry. They demand reassurance. Or worse, they leave. And the avoidance brain says, "See, I was right. Love always leaves." But if you stay calm, if you don't panic, if you quietly hold your ground without chasing or punishing, that changes everything. That test, you just passed. And in the avoidance hidden world, passing that test is louder than 1,000 "I love you" declarations. Now let me pause here. You might be thinking, why should I have to decode all of this? Why can't they just love me normally? That is a fair question. And here is the honest answer. You don't have to. You can walk away. You can choose someone easier, and no one would blame you. But if you are still watching this video, it means something. It means you already saw something real behind the distance. It means your gut knows that cold exterior is hiding a fire. And it means you want to understand, not to fix them, but to stop misreading their love as rejection. That is powerful. That is rare. Most people never get this far. Most people leave right before the avoidant finally opens up, and they never even know it. You are different. You are still here, and that means you are ready for the rest. Up ahead, I'm going to show you the 6 most overlooked signs that an avoidant is already deeply in love with you. Signs most relationship advice completely misses. Signs that look like red flags but are actually green lights. And then, as promised, I will give you the exact response strategy that works with avoidant psychology instead of against it. But before we go there, let me ask you one last question for this section. Have you ever felt crazy for loving someone who couldn't say it back? You are not crazy. You are not desperate. You are not weak. You are simply trying to read a foreign language with a dictionary written for a different country. Once you learn their language, everything changes. The silence becomes readable. The distance becomes understandable. And the love, hidden beneath all that fear, becomes impossible to unsee. Keep watching, because in the next section, we decode that language completely. You have learned that avoidants do not love like other people. They love like someone who has been burned by fire and still cannot stop staring at the flame. Their distance is not a lack of feeling. It is a lack of safety. And safety is not given through words. Safety is proven through patterns. In this section, we will walk through 3 specific behaviors that most people label as cold or unloving. But if you look through the lens of attachment psychology, those same behaviors are actually the loudest confessions of love an avoidant can make. We will also destroy a common myth that keeps people stuck for years. And by the end of this section, you will know whether you are dealing with someone who simply does not care, or someone who cares so much that their entire nervous system shuts down to protect itself. Let us begin with the first behavior. They stop pretending to be fine. Early on, avoidants are masters of "I'm good." Everything is fine, nothing bothers them. They have no needs, no sadness, no loneliness. That is a mask. That mask is how they survived childhood. But when love enters the picture, something strange happens. That mask starts to slip. Not because they want it to, because their body betrays them. You will see it in small cracks. A sigh they cannot hide. A sad look they quickly cover. A moment of silence that feels heavier than usual. A flat "I don't know" when you ask what is wrong. To a normal person, that looks like moodiness. To a psychologist, that is intimacy. Because avoidants do not show negative emotions to people they do not trust. Their entire survival strategy depends on appearing unfazed. So if they let you see even 1 second of real sadness, real exhaustion, real emptiness, they have already decided you are safe enough to witness their broken parts. That is love. Ugly love. Silent love. But real love. Most people miss this. They see the avoidant acting down and think, great, now I have to cheer them up. But cheering them up is not what they want. What they want is for you to stay in the room while they feel bad without trying to fix it. That is the deepest form of security for an avoidant. Not solutions, not advice, just presence without pressure. When they stop pretending to be fine around you, they are no longer performing. And performance is the armor of the uncommitted. The moment the armor drops, commitment has already begun. Second behavior. They start initiating contact in strange, indirect ways. Early on, you were probably the one reaching out. You texted first. You made plans. You carried conversations. That is normal with avoidance. They receive but rarely initiate. However, when love grows inside them, a shift happens. They begin reaching out, but never in a direct way. They send you a meme. They share a news article you might like. They ask a random question they already know the answer to. They say, "Thinking of you," in a way that sounds accidental. They call you about something practical, then stay on the line longer than necessary. To an outsider, these are nothing. To someone who knows avoidant psychology, these are giant steps. Direct initiation. "I miss you, let's hang out," feels life-threatening to an avoidant. It feels like handing someone a gun and saying, "Shoot if you want." But indirect initiation? That is their compromise. That is their way of saying, "I am thinking about you," without admitting how much they are thinking about you. Here is what matters. If an avoidant who never texts first suddenly sends you a random video at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday, they have been thinking about you all day. They fought their own brain to press send. And if you respond warmly without making a big deal out of it, you just rewarded courage with safety. That is how love grows inside a fearful heart. One small, awkward, indirect message at a time. Third behavior. They get quietly jealous. Avoidants hate admitting jealousy. Jealousy means caring. Caring means vulnerability. Vulnerability means danger. So they will never say, "I'm jealous." Instead, they will withdraw, or make a dry comment, or ask a strangely specific question about someone you mentioned. For example, you mention a coworker's name twice. The avoidant says nothing, but later they bring up that coworker in a way that feels off. "So, that coworker, you two seem close." Then they change the subject immediately, or they go quiet for an hour. That quiet is not anger, that quiet is fear. Their brain is screaming, "You are going to leave me for that person. Everyone leaves. I should leave first." But they do not leave. They stay. And they sit in that painful feeling because, without knowing it, they are choosing you over their own survival instinct. If an avoidant has ever shown hidden jealousy, they are already attached. People who do not care do not get jealous. People who are just passing time do not track your interactions with others. But someone who loves you? Someone who has secretly started imagining a future with you, that person will feel threatened by any potential loss, even if they act like they would not care if you walked away forever. Now let us destroy the biggest myth about avoidance. The myth is this: if they loved you, they would change. That sounds reasonable, but it is false. And believing it has destroyed more relationships than any avoidant behavior ever could. Here is the truth. Avoidants do not change because you ask them to. They do not change because you prove your love. They do not change because you wait long enough, or sacrifice enough, or cry enough. Avoidants change only when their internal discomfort becomes greater than their fear of vulnerability. And that process takes years of safety, not weeks of pleading. But here is what people get wrong. Just because they cannot change their attachment style overnight does not mean they are not in love. Love and behavior are not the same thing. An avoidant can be deeply, painfully in love with you and still act distant tomorrow morning. The distance is not a lack of love. The distance is a lack of skill. They never learned how to stay close without feeling trapped. Think of it like this. A person who never learned to swim can still want to be in the water with you, but they will panic. They will grab the edge, they will pull away and come back. That does not mean they do not want to be near you. It means they are afraid of drowning. Your avoidant is not withholding love to punish you. They are drowning in feelings they do not have the tools to handle. And if you keep interpreting their panic as rejection, you will leave right when they need you to stay calm the most. So what do you do with this information? First, you stop taking their distance personally. That is hard, but necessary. Their distance existed long before you. It will exist after you. It is not about your worth. It is about their wiring. Second, you stop trying to pull feelings out of them. Asking an avoidant, "Do you love me?" is like asking a fish to climb a tree. They cannot answer that question in the way you want, but they show you in other ways, small ways, quiet ways. Now you know how to see them. Third, you protect your own heart. Loving an avoidant does not mean abandoning yourself. You can understand their psychology without accepting mistreatment. You can hold compassion and boundaries at the same time. That is not selfish. That is wise. Here is what most advice never tells you. The avoidance love is not a prize to win. It is not a lock to crack. It is simply a different dialect of the same human need: to be seen, to be chosen, to be safe. If you can learn to hear that dialect without losing your own voice, you will see things most people never see. You will feel things most people never feel. And you will love in a way that is patient without being weak, and strong without being cold. In the next section, we will move into the final layer. We will talk about what happens when an avoidant finally breaks their own rules. When they say something vulnerable out loud, when they ask for help, when they stay through a fight instead of running. These are the rarest signs. These are the ones that prove love has moved from their hiding places into their daylight. But for now, sit with what you have learned. The quiet jealousy, the indirect texts, the cracked mask of being fine. None of these are accidents. None of these are games. These are the only love letters an avoidant knows how to write. And if you are receiving them, you are already more important to them than they will ever admit out loud. Keep going. The deepest signs are still ahead.